panel moderator will be 𝗙𝗵𝗵𝗵 𝗵𝘁𝗵, who is the SVP Data Analytics Cloud Platform with Axis Bank. Can we welcome him with a big round of applause? Piyush Kumar, VP Data Platform Engineering, 𝗏𝗏𝗵𝗁. Anupam Lav, Head Data and Analytics, 𝗏𝗏𝗵𝗁. Pooja, Director Enterprise Digital and Data Solution with American Express. Himanshu Gupta, Head BFSI Sector with Click. And Rushikesh Meharwade, who is the Vice President Data Scientist with 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Financial Services.
Yeah, good afternoon everyone. This is Dilip. I head the data programs for the Axis Bank. So I am seeing a lot of turnout in this room, right? So definitely it is the last moments. Somebody mentioned that of the PhD guys who normally turn out, and this is similar situation now. Anyway, so we'll start, So essentially in this program we will synthesize what are things happen, right? So Sachina has almost synthesized as part of the code from these entered systems. So we will try to synthesize. We want to, at least my head started getting into the a lot of things into the data, but a lot of point has come out, right? So let's I start from the first questions, right? So I remembered one of my IM sessions few years back. So there was a bancomer, right? They set up the banks in the Mexico 1.5 for decades, right? So people are struggling, what is the data point they have to collect, and they start the setting up the banks in the Mexico. There is a theft, there is people scared on the bank, there is no trust factor. I will keep money in the money bank, money which India people does, right? That's the point they started. Similarly, that is the where data point started. And if you look at the Ant Finance, right, which is built by the Alipay in the China, it is spin up like 500 millions, right? Like in India, HDFC, Axis, and all, they are not reach even more than 100 million, right? So that is the story. The technology and the industry has changing the data strategy. And if you look at the 2017 or 18 time frame, so the Walmart and Amazon, right? When Amazon entered into the grocery market, right? So Walmart started feeling how we'll beat the Amazon, right? So they introduced the last miles or last mile of hours. What it mean when employee after cashier's count and all he complete, so last when he travels, right, within a 10 miles or 5 miles, right, whoever the customer, he will take the item and drop it just to find the strategy to beat the Amazon. So the first questions from my side, how will how will work out for the data strategy? Yeah. So question to Anupam. How will do the data strategy for the effectiveness of the
data strategy in itself is a very varied term, right? To tackle that problem, two things needs to be aligned. First, what is your vision as an organization? What is your vision, and where do you stand currently? Right? If you don't know where you want to go and where you are right now, right, you will lead astray. So let's try to make it a real problem. Let's assume you are a organization which is medium and it is going through a huge growth spurt. Traditionally, people have been in a centralized IT team setup. Business was siloed data consumer. They were asking IT team, okay, give me this data, this particular data, I'll consume from that particular perspective. Now the mandate is, as the expansion is going on, they want to be a self-serve organization. So the end user can self-serve their data. And as a data leader, I have to make a strategy how to go about that particular problem. So first thing, being the data enthusiast, I'll build the best platform. I'll enable a fully functional streaming service. The real-time data comes. The data processes are set, very robust data processes, where we are storing, where we are syncing from different sources. We are doing the data manipulation in terms of preparing the data, storing it, and choosing a platform for the end consumption, where, as many other people mentioned, right, you can have a visualization based, a different visualization, or nowadays advanced AI based searches, right? You can say, show me last year's growth data, and that particular. So that is we have built that particular service. What I have done essentially, I have created chaos. Why? Because in building that particular data strategy, I did not take care of account where I was currently. Where I was a totally dependent on IT organization. People in my organization did not know about how to use the data, what is the data lineage, if they are coming from that particular. They don't know the glossary. I have not enabled a glossary for them. I have not cataloged the data for them. I have not maintained, okay, this is the right source for you, because, and making it more real, let's take a problem of a simple variable like gross sales. A finance team may understand a gross sales in a very different way than another. If I just enable a very robust platform which is able to self-serve to end user without providing them the entire governance support, I am failing them, I am creating chaos. So for me, data strategy is a function of these two things. What is your vision? Aligning your working backwards and trying to, and you know where you are. So you know the gaps, let's try to build those bridges.
Excellent, yeah. So Rishi, so what is your organization does in Motilal?
Sure. So Anupam has already added a lot of points around the data strategy that we are following. Can you guys hear me? Great, great. So on top of it, let me add few points with respect to the analytics, like with respect to the analytics, how are we managing the data strategies. So first of all, with Motilal or any organization, the bigger challenge is the siloed data. You cannot do any kind of analytics, machine learning, or even a simple MI-based reporting without data being clearly like visible. So one of the way to get it visible is like either a data lake kind of a structure where you try to centralize all this data. So getting that centralization is a key part. But the centralization, once it is done, again the second challenge comes is the quality. How good is the quality of this data? Because even a small minor mistake in the quality can hamper the whole process. For example, like I'm coming from the ML background. Many times it happened that we put 2 to 3 months in the effort of creating an ML model. But if we get to know after that 3 months that because of one single feature which was not rightly captured, the whole process we have to do, because ML is something that you cannot change one part of it and it will be working again. You have to build that model again completely from the scratch. So that is why the quality check is also very important once you start getting the data. On top of it, one more thing that comes in the strategy is, now if you see, like I'm from the IT background. So in IT, what I've seen is, we IT sometimes like the communication between the business and IT is very important when we are dealing with the data. So that doesn't happen, I've seen many times. So IT teams try to do things on their own and many times they again mess up. We get to know that, okay, this is the right strategy, this is the right strategy. So the communication of business and IT whenever we are dealing with the data is very important, because the data centralization stuff or data strategy stuff that we are dealing with is a one-time activity. You cannot keep on doing it again and again. So you can take a bit of a time, but do it with full focus so that the further processes which are going to use it would not be much impacted and have to do the whole thing again. So that is a bit of
Okay,
points.
excellent. Yeah. So my next question is essentially, I mean, many of us has discussed on that. It is a customer experience, right? So what happens, many times we provide service, right? Be it a credit card or something, right? I'm talking from the bank side, right? So what happens, customer, doesn't get the, right kind of service, right? So because of that, it goes to the customer obsession. He became obsolete, right? He goes to the social media, a lot of, issues in terms of raising the conscience and all, right? And because of that, it is the obstructs the, the service or product which provide, right? So now, so if you look at, to get the, customer experience, probably if you look at the Amazon Go store, right, who was set up in the New York, right? You just enter, get the egg and come out, right? The rest everything it will take care, right? The angle, subsistence, AI models, everything there, right? If you similar talk about the Tesla, right? They also, build similar kind of, driverless car to have, similar experience, right? So what are the, Pooja, question to you. So how you manage the customer experience, in terms of with all toolings you have built, but how you do the strategy to ensure that, our customer experience being taken care. You mentioned in your session, right? Trillions of records, trillions of data is coming, right, into your systems, right? How you manage this customer experience, yeah?
Thank you for the question, and thank you to the few brave souls who have made it through the day. In terms of data and how we use it to improve the customer experience, a couple of things come to mind. One is you have to understand your customer. And by that we mean you have to build like a 360-degree view of the customer. A great tool to do that is through customer journey mapping, which basically means you map out how each person is interacting with your brand at different parts of their process. So how are they engaging with you? When are they leaving? What are they buying? What are they not liking? And then kind of cross-link that with a set of KPIs to see what are you doing well and what are you not doing well. That'll give you some direction. And that is where analytics comes into it. And that leads to 3 outcomes, which is basically personalized. One is targeted messaging. You have to target it appropriately to what each person wants. Secondly, you make offers basis past buying behaviors, right? So if somebody has shown a preference for this kind of product, indicatively you're right to be able to go in terms of a personalized offer there. But also the offers have to be very relevant, which is why you really need to know your customers, and that's only through data. So if somebody is a fitness freak and you're offering them discounts on furniture, it may not be the right thing to do, right? Which is why it's really important to build that profile for your customers and then use that data and understanding to make them really targeted offers.
Yeah, excellent. So, okay, so Piyush, so how you take it up? So how is your organization managing ombudsman kind of spirit when customer goes mad, right? It became anxiety, and how you manage your customer experience?
Sure. Just to add to Pooja what she said, like, so you start with customer understanding first, right? And the other part which she alluded to was the journey mapping and understanding and creating your user data profile, and then be able to target on different channels, etc., in a personalized manner. So I'm sure like this is true for all organizations. Just to add to this personalization for us, right? So we see it more like an experience optimization problem, right? So, and to do the same, right? So one of the key things which we drive all across is good amount of experimentation backed by measurement, right? So where you are truly learning and having a feedback loop and saying, okay, this is working, that is working. These are the recommendations or algorithms at the back, which is giving us good, because proof of the pudding is, right? So the recommendations which you have made to that user, he or she followed the same all across, like, so in terms of, right, so if you have recommended the right flight choices, does that customer bought those, the recommendations you made in terms of hotel ranking, etc. So in our case, right, so for example, earlier, right, so top maybe 32 listings, etc., on hotel listing page used to contribute, for example, 80% of your business, etc. Now the top 5 are contributing, for example, to 80% of your business. This is a proof of pudding in terms of saying, right, so the recommendations which you are making to the customers, they are making the choices you have made on behalf of the customer, primarily in terms of recommendations back to the user, is working. The second part is because you are collecting a lot of data, not just in terms of the user activity, clickstream, etc., plus the microservices at the play, the models at the play, the feedback which you are curating, etc. The key thing which the previous speaker, Mr. Shailesh, was also alluding to in terms of you need to treat, so in our case also, right, so we are not just thinking apps over there, the users who are utilizing our apps. These are sensor data which we are collecting all across at the back as well. And then think about, right, so you need to take some actions in real time when the user is there on your app. So we have divided the customer experience, one, on-ramp. On-ramp is a experience when the user is on your platform doing experiencing your funnels, or like, so your product or app through various channels. The other part is the off-ramp experience, right? So when the user is not on your platform, you want to have a hook with retargeting mailers, notifications, WhatsApp, SMS, or even social media, right? So you are chasing that user on Facebook, Google, etc. So the key challenge probably, like, so which we are currently solving, is to unify those journeys all across as well. So that's the key part, right? So because now you have a very different real estate platform, etc. How do you make sure, like, so the recommendations you have generated are making sense on off ramp as well, right? And these are two different like people or humans at the back which are taking those decisions. For example, the off-ramp communication is more or less driven through marketeers at the back, right? So, and then the product experiences by the product and tech team, they are collaborating and working on. And because humans are different, the decisions are also taken very differently. Can you build a decision layer which is truly unified all across the user journeys on different platforms, wherever he goes, etc., is going to be the key, and that's what we are trying to solve for.
Okay, great answer. So now probably last questions for this session, and people might be excited, you know. So it is kind of a take questions. Yeah, we talk about the customer experience, right? Now, what are the tech, you know, toolings? Most of people, you know, they captured in some sense, right? So, Himanshu, how in your click, right? How you know, envisage all these tooling and platforms, right? Could you please, you know, talk more details how it all happens?
Thanks, Dilip. So I think all my panelists, gave us a different perspective. Is it audible? Yeah. So gave their perspectives about data strategy, in their respective organizations, and it's essentially a very vast topic. So I think I'll cover some key aspects of you talked about tools and platforms which can make a difference for the right data strategy, right? And I'll actually refer to one of the recent studies done by IDC, wherein they polled a bunch of users, asking them what's one biggest so to say challenge or hindrance which they face for data-driven decision making in their organization. And almost 65 to 75% people reported it's the availability of right data, right? So I think from that aspect, if we take a real world example, right? A person enters a bank, he deposits 1.5 lakh rupees of cash at the teller counter, and then he goes and sits in in front of his relationship manager. If the relationship manager does not know that this person has just deposited that 1.5 lakh rupees in his account, any advice he gives to that customer in terms of investments will never be a right advice. So I think one of the key aspects in terms of the tooling and the platforms for data strategy is making the right kind of data available to the users, and how that can be achieved is moving away from the archaic batch-based data pipelines to real-time automated pipelines. Get the data in front of the customer in the nick of moment when they have to make those business decisions, right? And second is, I think another key aspect, and which is again where we have seen some of the large organizations who've been very successful with their businesses, they have been able to empower their customers. They have been able to provide a lot of self-service to their customers, right? So the more analytics we push to the edge of the organization, the more successful an organization will be with their data strategy, right? And to that aspect, closing the loop, as we call it, the insights which most of the analytics tools are generating, how do you automate the actions from those insights being generated, and how do you make those actions more relevant for the customer, right? So we often use the term analytics is the edge of technology, right? But I guess analytics at the edge of business is what really makes a difference for a right and successful data strategy. Okay.
Excellent. Rushi, you want to share what are the technology aspect you do for your Motilal?
In terms of technology now, the data is again, as Himanshu mentioned, it's a very vast thing. We have seen that as the overall panels we have gone through, we have this data lake, the personalization related tools related to the data, the ML analytics, MIS reports, all we know. But yes, the core thing is getting the data to the central place. Everyone faces the challenge around data, that how do we get it to the one single location than just going to the silos and looking at it. So yeah.
Anupam, you want to share something on the technology aspect?
Yeah. So as rightly mentioned, technology is just a tool. So you have to define your strategy first. It has to align to your business goal. If your business goal is a real-time data availability, you have to choose a streaming service. You cannot run it in a technology which only supports batch, right? But the critical piece is you have, and this I'll put it, currently all the ecosystem for analytics, they need a mechanism to fail fast. You cannot be invested because technology changes every 2 years. There are new advent and new features added. You have to have an ability to change your technology to fail fast and try a new thing in the meantime. So choosing and doing those experimentation should be cost effective, and that is the criticality how you build a robust system.
Okay, excellent. Let me share my, what are the technology stops we did from in the Axis Bank. So in 2012, right, in Axis Bank, we started the data warehouse setup, right? So we started with, maybe 3 or 4 core systems, the Pinnacle, Fin1, the loan systems and all for the bank, right? And we started, taking the around those 20-25, GB of data, right, in 2012, right? By 2017-18 time frame, we saw there is close to 250 terabyte of data, right? And we added close to 300 plus kind of systems into the regulatory audit, compliance, a lot of APR and stores, right? So that is we call it as the generation 1, right? Which is purely the data warehouse and all those stuffs, right? In 2018-19, yeah. So I set up the big data programs, which will talk about. I mean, people talked, right? All unstructured, then structured, then different, aggregator data, so then, the geo data, then, account aggregator recently coming, right? RBI has introduced, any banks can go and get the transactions from other systems, right? Axis Bank, HDFC, ICICI, what, Sanjeet was talking, right? So that is, we introduce, right? Then Kafka, toolings, those kind of streaming setup we did, right? Then we set up the entire, what you call the AI and ML ops, platforms to do a lot of things, right? Then on the same time, we realized that we should have the data governance as well as the content management systems. So we introduced EDC and those kind of toolings and platforms which takes care. So it is similar like Colibra, what we do, the Western industry and all, right? And we realized there is missing component the BI and a ClickView, ClickSense, Tableau, those kind of reporting systems, right? Which will take care of everything. So that is another platforms we introduced sometimes last 2.5 years, and the RBI is behind us, boss. No bank can run without ensuring all your data quality, governance, what you call the duplicate, dedupe, or data quality, lot of PAN, other everything is messy, right? But today somebody were talking, right? We were talking 90% of data is duplicate, right? Only 10% apps carry the authenticate and authenticity, right? Then we moved to the clouds, right? So in 2020 we moved to the AWS, then Azure, and today we are doing a lot of GCP and Snowflake and other things they are keep on testing, right? So in essence, we started with the generation 1, which is data warehouse platform, right? And in generation 1, 2, we get into the big data and those other kind of NoSQL stuffs, and mostly now we are focusing on the cloud aspect, right? So these are the 3 major platforms today bank is focusing. Yeah. So that is what from my side. So I think if some questions from the audience, we can take it up, or we can close this session for today, and the most awaited ceremony stuffs might be waiting. Any questions? Yeah, I think we are heavy dose today. Yeah, we should let's get into do physical setup and all, right? So cheer up, and good work by the UBS team, right? Inviting everybody, and we all are hung from morning to late night, yeah, doing all the data jobs because it is extraordinary. Thank you UBS team who has given us the chance, giving this some breaks to everybody, right? And who are the leaders here. So definitely they got the time and put over here, and shown something which is very, very exciting, and thank you all
Thank you.
inviting us. Yeah, and we should be get ready
Thank
for.
you. But I request Lipsa to hand over the momentous to our fellow panel members whom we have not felicitated, please.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah. Dilip Kumar.